Okay, guys, I'm just doing a quick one today. Navy SEALs may have encountered fallen angels in Antarctica. It's pretty interesting. I'm going to do that, then hang up so I can stand on its own. And then I'm going to do, no, don't tread on there, doggy. Then I'm going to do Mike from Around the World on Paul Begley. So there you go.
Well, don't know. I thought I had it up there. Oh, good evening, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live. And listen, I'm wanting to take you back into this.
Hey, Diane, good to see you.
Was imprisoned in Antarctica and are still alive. A video that I did back, I think that is in 2016. Let me just.
Diane, today's the last day I do the old way of doing a stream. I'm going to do something new on Monday.
Actually, 2017, March 14 of 2017. Over 1 million views have been seen on this video. Also loaded over on Fact News Network. That video, for some reason, disappeared, but I think it was 1.7 million views on that video alone. And so I'm wanting to share some information with you there. I can't, well, I didn't ask permission if I could disclose the individual that shared this with me, but it will strengthen what I have shared in the past, and also it may actually shed new light on those fallen angels that were in prison, and because of a Navy SEAL team that encountered some alien beings unlike anything they had ever encountered before. So I'm going to be sharing that information with you here. I'm going to talk about what happened to the Navy SEAL team that went down into a tunnel in Antarctica there, and then also go back. We're going to look at the book of Enoch again. We're going to look at what actually happened, because there is information about what was going on in Antarctica back in 2016, why Pope Francis really went down there, or excuse me, he went to Cuba with Kirill. They were signing some kind of agreement. What was that really about? Why all the high-ranking officials like John Kerry that goes down there in 2016. No one really knew what that was all about. And of course, we do know what it was about now. There was a battle over Antarctica going on back in those days there, a battle between Russia, China, and the United States. And there was a peace agreement that was signed. And that peace agreement was worked out by Pope Francis and Mr. Kirill, the Archbishop of the Russian Orthodox Church there. That's why they met in Cuba. That was what that was all going on about. And so we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Ark of Gabriel being taken down there. That again, seem to be conspiracy theories, but no doubt some truth. We found out about the quantum technology that was down there. And then just recently, we found out about a Navy SEAL team through a tunnel in Antarctica after being dropped off by a submarine, encountered some alien beings there that were like in bodies of fire.
So I want to share
information with you, and really, I guess the best place to begin is let's go to the book of Enoch. I want to re-review what Enoch said, and I think it'll make more sense to you what is going on, because we're going to talk about those fallen angels being in prison. We're going to talk about that battle that went on between the U.S. and Russia. I was also told China was involved in it, but I can't confirm that 100%. And all that happened. And I have shared some of that over on our Patreon channel. We'll be sharing some more things on Patreon as well here in the coming days, some new information that we've discovered. Can't wait to share that with you as well. And that will be including things about Planet X, Nibiru that's coming through. Be talking about that. Anyway, according to the book of Enoch, Enoch wrote here, and I saw the storehouses of all the winds, and I saw how with them he has adorned all creation. I saw the foundations of earth, and I saw the cornerstone of the earth, and I saw the four winds stretch out height of heaven and how they position themselves between heaven and earth. They are the pillars of heaven. And I saw the winds which turned the sky and caused the disk of the sun and all the stars to set. And I saw the winds on the earth which support the clouds, and I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth a firmament of heaven above, and went toward the south, and it was burning day and night, where there were 7 mountains of precious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the north, towards the south. And those towards the east were of a colored stone, and one was pearl, and one healing stone, and those towards the south of red stone. Now, keep in mind, even though I'm going to tell you this is Antarctica, because you'll see this by what Enoch actually says here, you have to remember at one time, Antarctica was not a frozen wasteland. It was actually a continent, one of the largest continents on the planet. And I know some people, they are into the flat earth theory there, and no disrespect to their beliefs on that. I will share with you, I just discovered the right.
Good to know he's not a flat earther.
Things that Pliny had done. They call him the Elder Pliny. He was back about 100 years after Christ, and he actually talked about the earth itself and being a sphere, a globe even. Something that I didn't think there was documentation that far back on. I'll have to share that with you guys later. Thought that was interesting. All right. So he goes on to say, I went toward the south. It was burning day and night, where there were 7 mountains. Of course, we just read that. And those towards the east were of a colored stone, and the one was a pearl, and the one healing stone, and those towards the south a red stone. And the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of the Lord of the Stibium, and the top of the throne was of a sapphire. And I saw a burning fire. And let me just bump this up a little bit. Was in all the mountains, and I saw a place there beyond the great earth. There the waters gathered together, and I saw a deep chasm of the earth with pillars of heavenly fire. And I saw among them fiery pillars of heaven, which were falling as regards both height and depth. They were immeasurable. And by the way, that's exactly the way it's been described to me by people that work in the Pentagon, that when you come there, it's where the opening is. It goes into the inner earth there, and you don't even realize. You don't even realize that you like.
Okay, he just said the Pentagon is built on a tunnel that goes into the earth. That's pretty crazy.
If you were flying a plane, you'd fly right into it thinking you were still on top of the earth. That's why he talks about being immeasurable. And beyond this chasm, I saw a place, and had neither the sky above it nor the foundation of the earth below it. And there was no water on it and no birds, but it was a desert place. When I did that video, if you go back and look at it, Antarctica is considered the most desert region on the planet. It has less precipitation than any other place on the earth. I think it's like 1/4 of an inch of precipitation is all. Not even the Sahara Desert is as dry as what that is, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right on that, right? So anyway, goes on, a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars like great burning mountains. Notice that. 7 stars like great burning mountains. Hold that in your mind. And like a spirit questioned me, the angel said, this is the place of the end of earth. This is the prison for the stars of heaven and the host of heaven. The stars which roll over the fire, these are the ones which transgress the command of the Lord from the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. He was angry at them and bound them unto the time of the consummation of their sin in the year. Hang on, let me pull that down there. I'm having a little trouble with my mouse here, so I have to kind of wet my finger to make that thing, to find that thing. Well, I can't. Don't know where the mouse went to there.
The cat got it.
At any rate, there, let me just see if we can. There we go. I just saw. There we go. There it is. There it is. Right there. I can pull down too quick on me there. He was angry with them and bound them until the time of the consummation of their sin in the year of mystery. But if you notice, they do have, it indicates a body of fire. That's what the Navy SEALs encountered. Now, before I get into that, let me take you over here and talk about the 7 mountains. Now, I talked about that in the video there. That is the, let's see, I think they call that Mount Vincent, if I'm not mistaken there. Yes, there's 7 of them there. And those mountains run in a chain that if you were to go back before the earth tilted on its axis there, they would actually be sitting just as Enoch describes it. And then they show here, let's see here, I think right here is, it shows here where they are on Antarctica, right there. Mount Vincent right there is where it's at. And it's 7, Mount Vincent being the tallest, and then the 3 go to the east and 3 go to the south or something like that. However it was mentioned there is the way, I mean, it's not exactly quite that, but I did a thing on there when I did the video, and I explained how that if the earth was back the way it was before the flood, it'd be exactly in that position. All right, but I wanted you to be able to see about that location, which is right here, there. And when I was being told about the Navy SEALs, they went into a submarine and they said they went really deep under Antarctica. Way up in there, he said. And then he said there was a cave in there. The submarine was able to go way up inside the cave, going deeply up underneath Antarctica. He said, and then they were able to dock at this place. It was hollow where you come up. He said then the SEAL team, they took these men there with them, and they traveled about 2 miles up into the cave. They were to explore it, to see what was up in there. And as I was being told about this, the admiral that was the leader of this group, I believe he was an admiral, I don't know exactly his rank. It could have been a lieutenant colonel, but from the way it was described to me, it sounded more like a rear admiral. I didn't know, maybe so, but you got to remember, he spent his whole life, 20 years in the Navy, so he could have been that high of a rank. Don't know for sure if he's rear admiral or a lieutenant colonel or what he was, but at any rate, he'd had a dream the night before, and he said that this lady had come to him before and warned him about things. And he said that night before, he said she's never been wrong about what would happen. He kind of felt like she was a guardian angel to him. Okay. He said, but she warned him and said, you're going to encounter beings inside of here, the likes you've never seen in your life. And she told him, what you're carrying will not stop them. And so she instructed him that he should take in a type of explosive type of round that would be used in a weapon that when it would hit a human body, the human body would just explode. He said, you wouldn't have to hit a human one time, they're done. And he said the men the next morning, they didn't like the idea, but they obeyed him and they took it. He said, because the weight of everything was much heavier than normal. And he said they went up through that.
That's a detail you don't make up. That's why I believe this.
Cave, and he said, of course, it's not like a little cave. He said you could take 6 men and stretch out hand to hand and still not touch the sides of it. It was so massive. And he said he'd always noticed when he would go about 2 miles, anytime he ever went somewhere exploring up in Antarctica, he'd go about 2 miles. He said that's when you run into some crazy things. And he said, we got in there about 2 miles in. He said, just as you're starting to go up a little incline there, he said, and suddenly these alien beings come out. He said, you could make out their faces. They had a kind of you could see their faces and stuff. You see their head. He said, but their bodies were like fire. And I kind of put an image up here just for the sake of an image, as well as, this image here about, this was a different story altogether. Some Navy SEALs going into some other kind of cave or something like that. I just kind of put it there for a reference. But when he talked about them, he said that they had bodies that were kind of like fire. And he said he didn't have to tell his men. They were so terrified of these beings here. They began to engage in battle with them. And he said, when you shot them with one of these explosive rounds, they didn't go down. He said, but they got angrier and angrier. And he said he said their faces would get redder, and these bodies of fire and stuff. He said it'd take about 3-4 shots to take one of them down. He said, and somehow or another, they were attacking them. And of course, he said, before this all started, he said they were speaking with like a telepathy, threatening them that they were going to kill them. This is one of the reasons why they engaged in battle, and at the same time trying to retreat because they were so terrified of these beings. And he said they began to take them down with these bullets that they were shooting. He said, but they were being so severely wounded, and he said they didn't even know what they were hitting them with. He said, but when they did retreat out of it, he said he didn't lose any of the men. He said, but they had broken bones, broken ribs, bruised organs. He said, we had heavy flight jackets, everything on the body armor we were wearing, and still we were suffering tremendous damage to the body and everything, broken limbs, etc. He said they finally retreated and they got out of there and they got back to the submarine, and he said he wrote his report, but before they could leave, the commander wanted them to go back and bring a body. So we got to have it for research. He said, you wrote in there that you killed some, they went down, they were down, and they didn't want to go back. But he got a group willing to go back with him. And when they went back, he said they couldn't find a body, couldn't find their shell casings or nothing. He said it was so clean as if nobody had ever been there. But I tell you, friends, I believe they had ran into fallen angels. Now, I do know from what I've been told about alien beings to begin with, as long as it's done within a certain period of time, they can take and bring that being back to life again. They've got that type of technology. So even though they may have killed them, they may have survived. Then again, they may have really died too. If you remember, there were 200 fallen angels.
What's with the glare?
200. Now, I hadn't found out exactly the size of those beings, but I know they are huge from what I understand. Now, if you remember, referring back here again, I want to tell you a little bit more about the story of Antarctica. Remember the Ark of Gabriel. Remember Russia. There was a big conspiracy going on that Russia had went down to help the Saudis get the Ark of Gabriel out of Mecca. Remember, there were thousands that died in what Saudi Arabia claimed was a stampede during one of their Holy Shrine meetings there. But you remember, too, they were doing that construction, and the Ark of Gabriel was found buried there. That's what the conspiracy was going on about it. And every time they tried to remove it, they couldn't remove it. It would let out a plasma and just kill thousands of people. And from what I understand, Kirill was brought into this. There was some kind of document that they had that Kirill or the Russian Orthodox Church would actually be able to help them get it out. And Russia shows up down there with a ship, and it's all documented. That ship right there went down to Saudi Arabia. Nobody knows what they loaded on that ship. It is believed, though, that the Ark of Gabriel was loaded on that ship and taken to Antarctica.
Yep.
Now, since all this has happened, and since I did this video, I was told that in Antarctica, there was quantum technology there that was unlike anything you could ever imagine that was discovered. And that the United States and Russia, and possibly China as well, got into a battle over that. And it was Pope Francis and Kirill that brought about a peace agreement. And this is the reason why you see them here in Cuba making a covenant, a deal between the East and Western Orthodox churches. And supposedly it was all to do with this battle that went on there, that they settled that battle there between the United States and Russia. That was February 12th, 2016. And then, of course, there was a lot of high-ranking officials that end up going down to Antarctica. Remember, John Kerry goes down there. We'll get into the conspiracies there. There he is there. John Kerry lands Antarctica, the highest U.S. official to visit. He didn't comment on President-elect Donald Trump's election victory on Friday while visiting Antarctica, but he goes down there before the even time of the election. They were getting ready to vote, and they couldn't understand why he was going down there. Kerry became the highest-ranking American official to visit Antarctica when he landed for a 2-day trip. Trump has called climate change a hoax and said he would cancel U.S. involvement in the landmark Paris Agreement on global warming. Of course, that's what they were doing. That was their cover story, that it was global warming that caused Kerry to have to go down there. No, it wasn't. He was down there as a U.S. ambassador of peace that was being settled there in that area there. And if you remember, after he left, he went up to New Zealand. And while he was there in the area of Christchurch, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake strikes that area there, causing tsunamis and everything else. So interesting how all that happens, right? Let me just see here. There's something else I wanted to catch. It wasn't that one there. Let's see. Maybe it was right there. Oh, gosh, I don't remember.
Okay, I'll switch to Mike from around the world. I was going to, yeah. Actually, I'm going to finish this. It's only got 5 minutes to go, then I'll completely reboot. And so I'm going to be 5 minutes behind Paul Begley. So that's okay. It's nearly over.
I don't remember now. Maybe not. Well, don't know. I thought I had it up there. Oh, maybe it's back up here at the beginning here. Nope, that's that one. That's that one. May have bumped it off. Or maybe it's this one right here. Nope. Well, I don't know what I did with it there. I had actually an article up that goes into all the conspiracy. Here it is right there. Antarctica mysteries there, right? Wanted to show you that there because you see the British flag, American flag, and the Russian flag all flying there. And of course, this was also right after this agreement had been, that they'd come about on the agreement there. So between the fact of the mountain summits, the Book of Enoch, what's written there, what was going on, and then now to find out the Navy SEALs encounter up underneath Antarctica a battle with fire type of aliens embodied like in a fire, and then knowing that the scripture there in the Book of Enoch, I say scripture, it used to be part of the biblical canon, but I'll just read that to you one more time because I find it interesting. A deep chasm of the earth with pillars of heavenly fire, and saw among them fiery pillars of heaven, which were falling as regards both height and depth. They were immeasurable, and upon this chasm saw a place. It had neither sky above it nor foundation earth below it. There was no water on it, no bird. Sounds like Antarctica, doesn't it? But it was a desert place, and a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars like great burning mountains. 7 stars. And like a spirit questioned me, the angel said, this is the place of the end of heaven and earth. This is the prison of the stars of heaven and the host of heaven. The stars which roll over the fire. These are the ones which transgress the commandment of the Lord. So not only do we have the 7 mountains that speak about this area, but now we have evidence of the United States Navy SEALs encountering a fiery being that matches the very writings here in the Book of Enoch there. That's what we're reading at right there. That blows me away. Yeah. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Listen right there on the top of the video. Our website, IsraeliNewsLive.org.
Okay, guys, I'm going to hang up and straight away do Mike. So see you in 2 minutes.